And what's going on, guys? How you doing? This is another in a line of fascinating people where I get to interview one of my patrons. Today we're going to be talking to Standard Procedure, aka Nick. How's it going, Nick?
Oh, it's going well. Just
And
another
so,
just another day in paradise.
oh yeah. Well, wait, where do you live?
Charlotte, North Carolina.
That's right. That's right. You're a Southern boy. Right about that.
Yep. Born in Memphis.
Oh my God. Yeah. No, you can't get much southern than Memphis unless you're
Mm.
like missing teeth and living in a swamp. Mm. That's about as southern as you can really get, but Memphis is pretty up there. Oh
It
yeah.
depends. It depends. Like you're talking about like Louisiana folks, and maybe like
Some Alabama, a little
southern
bit,
Florida. Yeah.
little bit of Mississippi, a little bit of Mississippi.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
lived in
Mississippi.
I was born in Memphis, but we were in South Haven, Mississippi, until
Mhm.
I was like 10. And then we moved to Long Island, New York. So
Yeah.
hell, yeah, it was a big fucking culture shock. I went from like dirt roads and like knowing everybody in my neighborhood to people like piled on top of me, and like, yeah, it was interesting.
How old were you when you had to move?
I was like 10 or 11.
That's a fucking crazy shock.
Yep, I have two older brothers as well. Both of them were in college at the time. So I went from like having two brothers to being an only child like instantly.
That's crazy. An only
Hmm.
child and suddenly in like large civilization.
Yep.
Jesus. That's so crazy. I can't even imagine that. Um,
Well,
so if you're in North
you lived in
Carolina,
South America. I mean, Jesus, that's or Central. Was it Central America or South America?
Pennsylvania, yeah, Panama.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So I
mean,
mean, there's a kind of a culture shock there. I mean,
oh
maybe a little
sure.
bit. Yeah.
Sure. I saw black people.
Yeah. Shockingly, when I moved to New York, I saw black people and Latino people and Jewish people, and you go right down the list.
Oh yeah.
People I had
Oh, yeah.
never seen before in my life living in Mississippi. So
Well, the small town that I grew up in over on the coast of Oregon, it's very very white. I think there was like one black family, um, but none of their kids were in my grade. There was one Chinese kid, but he was adopted,
hmm,
and there was a Puerto Rican.
okay.
That that was it. That was it. Everybody else is just white as fuck, and then yeah, go to Panama, Central America, which is Hispanics and blacks. It was just
Yeah.
bizarre.
Yep.
Super. Well, crazy. Okay, so what led your family to move over to New York?
My dad, his job.
Yeah.
He used to work for Motorola way back when. But the division that he worked for shut down or something along those lines. He had to go find a new job, and he ended up working for Symbol Technologies up in Long Island, New York.
Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
I wouldn't have pegged Mississippi for having like a strong presence with Motorola.
Memphis
Memphis, that's
specifically.
right, Memphis. Yeah,
So
yeah.
South Haven, Mississippi is I mean, it is more or less a suburb of Memphis.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
you're 20 minutes to downtown from where we lived.
That's wild. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. That's crazy shit. Yeah, the South is interesting, man. And I always run into the most interesting conversations when you talk about what it's like living in the South to people who
Mhm.
have never been there. That's one of my favorite.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or people that have recently moved here and don't really don't know the culture, or
Hmm.
they only know what they've seen on TV or movies.
What's your favorite culture shock moment between people who've never been to the South and then they go to the South?
Probably the when it snows down here, it's not like end of the world. I mean, people go and buy fucking bread and water because they're idiots, but
Yeah.
um, it's when it snows down here, it only if it's bad, it's only here for maybe a week tops, and then the roads are fine. It's usually an excuse for everybody to just hang out in their house, get drunk, and have a good time.
Right.
Because that's
Right.
what I've done every time there's been like an ice storm and I can't go anywhere and work is shut down and all this other shit. Sit at home with my friends and just get hammered. And
Right.
like you know, my soon-to-be ex-wife came down here from New York, and she was like, "I don't get it. I don't understand why everybody loves the snow down here. I hate it." And I'm like, "Because we don't get to see it that often.
Yeah, it's like it's a huge event when it
Big
snows in the
deal.
South.
Everybody wants to go make snowmen and
Mhm.
play in the snow." Yeah. Whereas up north, it's like, fucking, I gotta go out there and shovel the goddamn driveway or the roof of your house so it doesn't collapse.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh my God. The second time I moved to New Orleans, within 4 days, it started snowing, and
That's like unheard of in
yeah, completely
Louisiana.
unheard of. The wildest thing, and it was so funny too because we moved when we did because we were like the weather's going to be great. So we're coming from Oregon, you
Yeah.
know. So we're gonna get down there and we'll be walking around in shirts and shorts. Everybody else is gonna be freezing their asses off. And a few days in, there goes a streetcar. It's got snow on top of it and shit. And people are like, "What's happening?" It's great. It's awesome.
How'd you like that humidity in the summer?
Ooh, I loved it. I loved it.
Liked it. Okay. All right.
Oh
I
yeah.
can't stand it. I want to move to Arizona and get away from this shit.
No, man. That's the thing in me. When I where I grew up, over here in Oregon, it's the only tropical it's the only rainforest that's not tropical in the Americas, as far as I know. I say at least the only one in the United States that's not in a tropical area or at least subtropical because they're very temperate. But because of the weird interaction between the valley, the height of the mountains and the ocean makes this like it's a rainforest. It's humid. Even when it's cold, it's humid.
Hmm.
So moving to Panama, Central America, humid, just hot,
Well,
hot
yeah,
as
you're
balls.
in Panama. I mean, the coast couldn't have been more than what, an hour in either direction.
If you were on the Pacific side of the Pacific Ocean and you drove north, you would get to the Atlantic Ocean in an hour and 10 minutes in good traffic.
There you go.
Yeah, it's not far.
No,
Not far.
getting 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 fucked by two oceans.
Yes. So, and when I was a kid too, I had horrible acne and bad skin conditions. So I wore a hoodie everywhere in this,
Yeah.
tropical environment. So 95 degrees, I'm wearing a hoodie, like keeping myself covered up and shit and sweating. So, yeah, the South ain't shit to me, man. I like it. I
Yeah,
like it.
no, yeah, I hear you. No,
Yeah.
I don't like the humidity sucks, but and it's hot. It's so goddamn
Yeah. Yeah.
not Central America hot, but it's man. Ugh.
Oh no, dude. No, no, no. No. The Carolinas get hotter and at times even more humid than even parts of the rainforest in South America. Straight up.
I don't doubt it. I don't
That's just
doubt it. I mean, it's there's that funnel where you have like the Appalachian Mountain and the coast, and just any weather that doesn't go north of that, like through Knoxville and then up,
Mhm.
the through West Virginia, it just funnels right into the Piedmont where I live. So yeah,
Ball, it's like walking through ball sweat.
dude, it's soup. It's ball soup outside.
I
It
love it.
just rained too, so like it's nice. It's like 70 odd degrees out, whereas it was like 90 fucking 8 degrees for a high today or some shit.
Okay, I tell you what I don't like about the Carolinas though. I
All
don't
right,
like the bugs.
I don't either. Join the
Mm.
club.
Y'all got some messed up bugs out there.
We have big fucking bugs down here.
Yes. If I like you go to like New York City and the roaches are like that big. You can go to fucking South or North Carolina, they're like the roaches are like
Oh,
that.
it's South Carolina is the greatest because they call them palmetto bugs.
Mm-hmm.
Palmetto bug, my fucking ass. That's a goddamn cockroach.
Yes, it's a giant. And do the palmettos fly? I can't remember.
No, but they make a noise. They hiss.
That's right. Yeah,
It's
yeah. They
awful.
talk at you.
Yeah, they do. Like walking down the street in Charleston, South Carolina, years and years and years ago, you just see them on the side and you just like, tss, tss, tss. Yeah, it's awful. Oh,
Yep.
everywhere.
Fuck that. You know what they really should name? They should just put North Carolina and South Carolina together. They should call it one mega state, not Florida,
Not Florida, yeah,
because at least it's not Florida.
because it is not Florida. Not
Hmm.
Southern Florida, at
Yeah.
least.
Well,
Saw that.
all Florida's bad. All of it.
It's not good. No.
No, it's a terrible state. It's an awful place to be.
Louis,
Just god
I'm
awful.
gonna be honest. I know you like New Orleans and everything, but Louisiana fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Right, just right out loud. New
Yeah.
Orleans, New Orleans. I'm again, no disrespect. New Orleans is a shithole.
Yeah.
And if it were not for the French Quarter, no one would fucking go there ever for anything.
Oh, I would say there's more than just the French Quarter, but a good 80% of New Orleans is a fucking hellhole. Just an
Oh yeah,
absolute hellhole. It's a
I
fucking terrible place.
I did a big solo road trip back in October. I drove to Knoxville, Memphis, Houston, New Orleans, and then back home.
Yeah.
And God, that stretch from Houston to New Orleans was god awful. Just the whole road, the whole ride, just
Oh yeah.
just the
Mhm.
whole time for like 80 miles. And you're
I'm
driving over a swamp. You can't even like pull over and do something. You're driving over a bayou.
Oh, I
Just
know. Yeah, like it's just like one long fucking bridge, and like, oh, there's a little bit of dirt bridge, and if
it's
you
mostly
look
like
over,
treetops as you go by
oh yeah,
because
yeah.
it's raised up above the. I don't even know. I was thinking about it as I was driving along. It's like how did they even build this?
Hmm.
How did they get any of this shit out here to put it together?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to make sure I know exactly why. I'm trying to call back to why Louisiana's roads are so bad. Do, 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 do. Okay. So I'm not, yeah, I'm probably going to get this wrong. But from what I understood from people who lived there, the reason why Louisiana's roads are distinctly worse than anywhere else in the United States is because there was some kind of fucked up political scandal that happened, and as uh, some sort of punishment, like federal money was withheld for maintaining the roads. So they work with like the
Oh,
bare minimum.
I think this has something to do with the drinking age.
You think?
I think so because Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, was the last state to raise the drinking age to 21.
Oh, that might be why. Um,
And
okay.
I think they were threatened to withhold federal money specifically because of that.
Right. Well, also the other problem with Louisiana, and one of the reasons why Louisiana is such a piece of shit, is it is the single most corrupt place in our entire country.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely corrupt.
I believe it.
100%.
I believe it.
I mean, it's not only it goes from just a police officer in New Orleans all the way up to the straight up fucking governor. They are
Oh,
always corrupt, always the biggest pieces of shit scumbags on the planet, just the fucking worst. Um,
my
Ray
brother.
Ray
My,
Nagin was a good example. He was the dude who was in charge. I think it was the mayor of New Orleans or something, or maybe he was the governor.
maybe.
I don't know. But he was heralded as a fucking hero after Hurricane Katrina. Turns out the motherfucker was stealing like millions and millions and millions of dollars during the whole fucking thing.
A lot of people got fucking rich off of that. It's
Yeah.
disgusting, and none of it's it. A lot of that shit's still not fixed.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's totally destroyed.
Yeah.
But I take it you did have fun when you went to the French Quarter, though.
I did. I had a great time. I would totally go back to New Orleans anytime. It's just you once you leave that veneer of like the touristy area, it dawns on you. It's like, wow, there are homeless people fucking everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
like they're sleeping and they're just sleeping anywhere they can grab like concrete. It was ridiculous.
It's not only that too. I mean, like if you look at a map of New Orleans, I tried doing this once. I took a map and I took a marker because I didn't have any electricity. Another nice part about living in New Orleans, their power grid's fucked. But I started trying to color in the nice neighborhoods.
Because their infrastructure is like 200 years old.
Right. And there's no such thing as a medium neighborhood in New Orleans. It's either a nice neighborhood or a shit neighborhood. And it
Yeah.
was like just like these little pock marks of really nice places, and everything else is just shit, just total
Oh,
shit.
there's certain wards like you just don't go to.
Yeah.
My
I
brother
think
was telling me before I went to New Orleans because it was my first time going.
right.
Just going back to that corruption part, he was like, make sure that you don't do anything that would give a cop any reason to look at you twice.
Right.
Yeah, don't.
Right.
He's like, because I'd heard the stories even before that, but he was like, I'm dead fucking serious because they'll find a reason to
Mm.
haul your ass to jail, make you pay fines, and all this other shit.
Yeah, no, they will. They absolutely will. And it's funny too because those bad neighborhoods have less crime than the nice neighborhoods because all the poor people from the bad neighborhoods all go into the nice neighborhoods to
Yeah,
steal.
yeah, of course. Of course they do. They ain't gonna steal from your neighbor. Your neighbor ain't got shit.
Yeah, yeah, he's as broke as you are. Fuck,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. Yeah, no, that was an interesting place. I liked going out of New Orleans and crossing over into like Mississippi to get the vibe of the South, though. I liked it. I liked the South a
Yeah.
lot.
There's definitely some great places to go in the South. Memphis is cool if you stick to the touristy parts. It's pretty rough outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
So like Beale Street. I stayed at the Peabody, which was awesome. That hotel's been there since I believe before the Civil War.
Holy shit! Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They have there are ducks that live on the roof. If you've never have you never heard of this?
No, I've never heard of the Peabody.
Holy shit! You got to look up the Duck March on YouTube somewhere. Any of them. There's a family of ducks that started roosting on the roof, and they started feeding them. This is like the lore, the legend, or whatever. This was God knows how many years ago. They now have a duck master who goes to the roof, up the elevator, collects the ducks. They get on the elevator with him. They're not in like cages. They just follow him, and they make a big show of it. You'll see in one of those videos.
I'm watching right now. What? Oh my god!
Yeah, exactly.
And they roll out the red carpet, and
they roll out the red carpet. There's a fountain in the lobby, and they march them right down to the fountain, and they'll hang out there all day.
Oh, that's rad! All right, yeah. Anybody watching, you should go Google like Peabody Hotel Duck March. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's really, really unique. So if you ever go to, it's a little pricey, but if you ever find yourself in Memphis, do yourself a favor, stay at the Peabody.
Yeah, go watch a marching of ducks.
Go watch the Duck March, and you're right there near Beale Street, so plenty of entertainment, shit like that. But anyway, and it's across the street from the Rendezvous, which is the best fucking ribs you will ever have.
Oh my god, that's the thing I miss about the South. I miss the food.
Mm-hmm.
I miss the food.
We make good food. We know.
Yeah.
That's why we're all fat.
Yeah. I got so fucking fat living in New Orleans. Holy shit! Immediately.
Let me ask you this, because most people who are not from the South do not like this. Do you like grits?
I found one way that I can actually like grits. A lot of butter, like make them a little bit dry so you can add the butter so they moisten with the butter. A lot of salt, and maybe toss it with something that has a different flavor, and I'll actually like them. But I swear to God, you Southern people will just toss in your fucking snotty ass grits that are watery and have no flavor. How do you eat that?
Oh man! Well, first of all, those grits are terrible. You gotta get good grits, like shrimp and grits or cheddar grits are great.
Oh, cheese and grits is good. Yeah,
absolutely. There's red eye gravy, which is literally just grits with bacon bits. It's awesome.
That's good. Yeah.
But yeah, like the diners, they don't serve good grits. They serve like instant shit that's soupy and crappy.
Right. And having to cook grits all the time, like that's the other thing that I didn't like about grits.
It's not hard. It's like rice. It's literally exactly like rice.
Yeah, it's exactly like rice. And the thing is, though, well, it's worse than rice because grits turn into cement in the pot, you know? So when you
Keep adding
when you
water.
gotta cook for a bunch of hungry ass people, you're cooking up a shit ton of grits. You gotta keep that shit fucking stirring. Yeah, make sure that shit's like not congealing up or anything like that. Or oh my god, it's a dumb food. It's dumb food. But you know why people in the South really like it?
Why?
Because it's cheap.
It is cheap. That there is that. That's why we like. It's the same reason that we eat crawfish and
Mm,
catfish.
mm, mm. Okay, so one of my favorite things though, it's like I was saying, I love when people who've never been to the South, they go to the South. Um, had this friend of mine, old friend of mine, he came down to the South. He wanted to live and experience there because he was just sick of where he was at. And I've been living there for a while. I was like, all right, man, cool, come on down. He arrives, get him settled, let him sleep one night, and then the next night I'm like, you're in good timing because we got a crawfish boil we're gonna go to tonight.
Oh.
Like, what the fuck is that? What's a crawfish boil? Like, oh, don't just you wait. It's this bar in New Orleans called the Maple Leaf. Just a dingy ass little piece
The
of shit
Maple
bar.
Leaf? Is it a bunch of fucking Canadians?
Nah. It's a salty New Orleans bar, off
Fair enough.
in a corner on some side street where nobody goes. None of the tourists know about it or anything.
Yeah.
So I'd take him in there, and the look on his face is like he was watching a murder. Because if anybody doesn't know what a crawfish boil is, you get a big fuck off table.
Yep.
And if it's fancy, you have little dishes for your butter and for your utensils. But usually, if you're doing a proper one,
Fuck all
it's
that
just
noise.
fucking just grab whatever
It's
the
a
fuck
waste of everybody's time.
I know. And they just dump boiled crawfish on there, and this whole line of drunk assholes just starts fucking tearing it apart and eating it. It's the most disgusting.
Pop that tail off, and you pinch the tail,
Suck the head,
and then suck the head.
Yeah, that's what you do,
and
it's incredible.
The head is disgusting the first time you do it. Absolutely the nastiest shit you will ever have.
Yeah,
but you get drunk and then you start to like it.
Yeah, and then you don't even need to be drunk anymore. You're just like you're tonguing the head and shit. Like it's fucking disgusting. It's great.
Look, honey, I'm working the eyes.
Now I miss the South. God damn it. I'm upset.
You got a house to you got a couch to crash on if you ever want to come down.
I might fucking take you up on that, honestly. I might, because like I've been traveling a lot to LA and whatnot, but the flights to the South are cheap too. Yeah. So, but anyway, okay. All right. So you start out in the South around like Memphis and all of that, go to New York. Where did you go from there?
Well, we were only in New York for 3 years. My dad got another job. He wanted to get out of New York. It was just too expensive.
Yeah.
So we had three choices: Seattle, Jacksonville, or Charlotte. And they asked me where I wanted to go, and I was like, I'd rather go to Charlotte.
Yeah, it's closer to
home. Yeah, it's closer to home. Seattle was like right out. Nobody was interested in going to Seattle.
Yeah. That's another culture shock right there.
I have no doubt. Actually planning to go to Seattle probably next year and do another road trip.
Yeah. That's a good one. Seattle's
I want to drive through like the Black Hills and all that in South Dakota and come down through Chicago. It'll be a good time. But yeah, we came to Charlotte and we've been 96. Yeah, we moved here in 96.
Okay.
So 22 years I've lived here. Although there was a year where I was at school. I went to Mississippi State University, Starkville, Mississippi. It's in the middle of the state. Doesn't matter.
Right. Fair. So when you started going to college, what were you focused on?
Drinking and partying.
Yeah,
which is why I was only there for a year.
What'd you want to do though?
I wanted to go into computer science.
Yeah.
That was what I initially wanted to do, and I mean, I ended up in IT anyway, which worked out for the best. But
Well, okay. So what year was it that you went to college for computer science?
2002,
To that. Okay. So
two.
really similar, really similar. Because I think it was 2000. Fuck me.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay, so you're a couple years older than me.
Just a
So
couple,
I'm
yeah.
34. Yeah.
Yeah, like around 99 into 2000, I jumped into it and I was like, I gotta, computers are going to be the future, so I need to jump
The
in and I need to
future.
do computer science, like because they didn't
Yeah.
have anything else. It was like computer science, and then you could go on to programming, and that was pretty much it at the time.
Yeah. I would have
And
ended up being like a who knows? Like I probably would have ended up writing like JavaScript or some shit.
right, or like a systems
Which
or some shit or whatever.
yeah, and the thing is I now that I'm older, I'm like, man, there's no way I would have finished that degree because I don't have the patience for that shit. I'm
Yeah,
not going to go back and read 400 lines of code to find the one thing that I fucked up. I'm just not interested.
I was too. I was way too young to go to college for computer science. I just drinking and whoring. That's pretty much it.
Yep.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's what happened to me. It was my first time being away from my parents. I was on my own for the first time in my life. And I joined a fraternity and got way too drunk and
Mhm.
partied way too much. And they said, thanks, but no thanks. We're sending you home. So I got my ass kicked out of college for not going. But, I did eventually go back and I did just fine.
Yeah. So you're in IT now, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
What do you do?
I fix computers for a living. Fix computers, install stuff. I do work on some projects for my company, but we it's a distribution company, so there's really not a lot of innovation going on. It's
Mm,
not like a forward thinking tech company or anything like that,
right.
but it pays really well. So
I did actually remember what you did, but that's what's called being a good interview, so I can segue into what is it? What is what is it? What is it? What is it that what is it that got you really interested in technology and computers that kind of made this something that was um,
I
something that you wanted to dedicate a lot of your energy towards?
that's actually really easy. Middle school teacher that I had, his name was Mr. Story,
Mr.
and he
Story.
Mr. Story, like spelled like story, like if
That's
you tell it.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
He taught I don't remember what the class was, but it was a technology related class. But he did a lot of stuff after school, and we were always he got a bunch of like project kits for people to do that were just technology based. The one that we got was it was supposed to be fiber optics, but it literally was just like you stand on one end of this hallway and I will stand on the other, and there's like a laser and a receiver, and the guy at the other end is like talking like it's a radio,
Right.
but it's going along that beam, which was really fucking cool to a 12-year-old. I was like, this is the greatest shit ever. And he had a bunch of like surplus computers in his storage area. So he would bring us in and be like, if you guys want to build a computer, you can take it home out of
Wow.
like what we had. Yeah. So I learned how to build a computer in that class, and I was like 12, 13 years old. And I just really enjoyed it. I was one of the first people in North Carolina when I was in high school to get my Microsoft certification through a new program that they had started in the high schools here.
Yeah.
So I was
I bet
probably like the sixth or seventh person.
you really liked Legos when you were growing up, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I did.
Yep.
I like taking shit apart too. I was always like taking apart the remote, like the
Ooh, did you
cliche.
ever did you have one of those little kid moments where you're like, I'm gonna take this apart to figure out how it works, and you
And fucked it
broke it?
up. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What was it? What was yours?
Um, it was something of my dad's. What was it? I want to say it was his phone,
Oh,
like the landline in his office. Yeah,
Oh
I took it
no.
apart and fucked. I think I like disconnected the receiver and fucked
Right.
it up. He had to buy a new phone.
I had this it was actually pretty cool. I mean, it's simplistic now when I think about it, but it was it looked like a lap desk like you can get now.
Mhm.
It's all plastic, and on one side was this. It had a little ledge so you could put a book on it or a piece of paper. You could open it up, store shit in there. But to the left of it was a tape player. You could put a cassette in, and you could stop, eject, rewind, fast forward, and play. And I discovered what screws were. And so I got a screwdriver and I unscrewed it. And so I'm like trying to figure out how it works, but these damn wires, they're stuck. So I was like, that's cool. So I just take the screwdriver and
Yank him out.
Yep. Yep. And then my mom had to explain that I had broken it and I cried really, really hard. Glad you think that's funny.
It is funny.
It is funny.
I bet your parents thought it was hilarious too after they were done yelling at you.
Yeah, my mom was really good at doing the yelling thing and never letting me see her laugh at how dumb I was.
Yeah. I get the sense that that was the case with my parents. I was when I was little, I used to do my parents tell me these stories now because I don't fucking remember. But like when I was like 4, my parents would be out in the living room watching whatever it was they were watching, and I'd walk out and I'd be like, "What is all this ruckus for?" I swear to God, this one was like, "What is all this ruckus in here?"
Mhm.
As a 4-year-old, like scolding my parents, like, "Why are you so loud?"
You said what's this ruckus?
Yeah, what's all this ruckus? I was, yeah, exactly. I don't remember this. I don't remember this at all. They had to, at one point, just to give you an idea of like how curious I was as a kid, they had to like take the lock on my door and flip it because at like 3 years old, I don't remember how old I was. My dad tells a story that like I climbed out of the crib and like disappeared in the house. Like they came to check on me and I wasn't in the crib. I wasn't anywhere in the house. And then apparently they heard me laughing in the bathroom. Pitch dark. Dad turns on the light. And apparently I'm just sitting in the sink, just having a blast. My dad was like, me and your mother looked at each other and we were like, what the fuck do we do about this? So their solution was flip the lock on the door so I couldn't let myself out.
Yeah. You got to lock him in at night. Otherwise, he's going to go on tour.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I got a super chat on an interview. That's interesting. Rhino says, I know that the spades are the swords of a soldier. I know that the clubs are weapons of war. I know that diamonds mean money for this art, but that's not the shape of my heart. Are those Corn lyrics?
Maybe, probably. Yeah, you're gonna have to look it up.
I know. Damn it. If it is, I'm gonna be really pissed at you. That motherfucker was trolling me all goddamn weekend at VidCon. I swear to God. Sting! It's Sting! He fucking... Do you know, were you watching the episode when I explained why I don't like Sting?
No, it was not.
I had a girlfriend. She had a sexual relationship with Sting before she met me.
Like Sting, like actually,
Like the Sting.
Like had slept with Sting.
I'm sending out an SOS. Yeah, that's Sting.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. No, and yep. It caused a very big rift in our relationship because I was like,
say it ain't so.
Well, because when somebody you're physically intimate with has fucked somebody who's massively famous, you kind of start questioning all things about yourself because she revealed to me that he still had her number.
Interesting. Okay.
So I'm like, am I on borrowed time? When how long until Sting shows up to whisk you away from me? Like, what the fuck, dude? She's like, he's married. Leave me alone. It's okay. I'm like, that doesn't stop celebrities.
No, it doesn't.
No, it really doesn't. Um, so I don't know. That's just the thing now. Apparently now everybody's trolling me with Sting. So I apologize.
No, you're fine.
Okay. Um, heavy topics.
Okay.
Okay. So there's something that's touched both of our lives, yours and mine. We've been talking about it quite a bit, and that's one of the big impetuses that we wanted to get a chance to like sit down and just kind of have the one-on-one and hammer it out. And that is the really unfortunate topic of Alzheimer's and how it touches us and our lives and our loved ones. So I know that you've told me a little bit before, but so we have an idea of where we're going to go for this conversation.
Sure.
I figure you can lay it out for us.
Uh, where do I even begin?
It's a crazy journey every time it happens.
Um, I guess the place to start would be, it's probably the worst disease I think any family could experience.
Hmm.
And
I'd say honestly, it's worse than cancer.
I do too. And I'm going to say something that uh, people aren't going to understand unless they've been through it.
Right.
But I wish that it was literally anything other than this, because I've made peace with the fact that my mother is going to die.
Right.
But watching it go down like this, I wouldn't wish this sort of thing on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. Not on
'Cause we're
anybody.
we're in the exact same boat. It's both our mothers
Yeah.
have it. Yeah. And
And
it's and
well, I
no,
mean,
by all means.
well, you you watch this person who cared for you and raised you, and now they can't write their own name. Can't write their name. They can't care for themselves. Um, my mother can't open a door with a lever. Can't do it. Doesn't know how. Um, and it's really it sucks a lot to watch your own mother like eat food with her hands because she can't use a fork or a
Right.
spoon, because she just doesn't know how.
So her she's having problems with like ambulatory.
Yeah, a lot of
How
motor
long?
function. Short-term memory is getting worse by the day.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, she still recognizes everybody and hasn't gotten to that point. But she has a really hard time carrying on a conversation. Um,
Right.
she knows what she wants to say, and I think that's probably the worst part. Is she absolutely is aware of what's going on, what's happening to her, and it frustrates her. She will break down and cry because she's embarrassed or she's very self-conscious about it.
Right.
Um, and that's really tough. That is really, really tough to watch. Um,
It's interesting like the biomechanical breakdown of Alzheimer's is really interesting because I mean you know this, but just for the
yeah,
sake of the audience, it's a biodegenerative disease that because of plaques and
I
help me
can't
out
remember.
here.
I can't remember. My
Plaque,
plaque buildup on neurons is probably the primary.
right, and it causes massive cerebral damage, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things that drives me crazy about it too. Is there's no hard and fast rules on Alzheimer's. Some people get it, they get diagnosed, and it's a long, protracted process, and some
Yeah.
people it's very fast, very very fast, and
Yep.
everybody's different. How long has she been diagnosed?
She's. I think it's been 5 years now
Yeah.
since she was diagnosed. Or yeah, it's probably been about five. My whole family, my parents met at the University of Tennessee, and that is significant because Pat Summitt, who was the legendary women's basketball coach was diagnosed with early onset dementia, and within 3 years she was gone.
Yeah.
So that hit really close to home. I have a hard time with, talking about Alzheimer's. For example, playing The Witcher 3. There's a quest in there. There's a quest line, side quest called the Black Pearl. You meet a man. He talks about he had to go off to war, but he had always promised his wife that he'd bring her back a Black Pearl. Never did. Now he's an old man, and he wants to fulfill that. But the premise is that I'm old, so I need you to go do it.
Right.
But you go do it. You give it to him, and then you meet up with him later, and he tells you that his wife doesn't recognize him, that she hasn't spoken in years, that all she does is sit and stare, and he was hoping that the Black Pearl would ignite something in her.
Right.
And that really got me. It really got me. I actually talked to the guy that designed that quest.
Did you really?
Not talk to. I had posted in a Witcher subreddit years ago about that, and he responded.
Well, that's cool. Yeah. I imagine it probably touched his family quite a bit too. Mine was really interesting because I like my grandfather had Alzheimer's, and it was really strange because we had no idea that he was a fucking war hero from World War II. But when I knew him, everything I knew about him was just this goofy old man who was just scatterbrained, very Mr. Magoo. And then after he died, we went through his things and we found holy shit, he ripped these things off of dead Nazi officers. What the fuck? Crazy shit. And then my mom, it's becoming more and more apparent that she has it. And it was getting to a point, and it's hard for me to talk about too, but it got to a point where almost every night my dad would have to call me and hand the phone to my mom, and I'd have to calm her down because she's wondering why I'm not home.
Yeah.
She's you're not old enough to be out on your own. Why do you sound so different? Why is your voice so deep? And well, mom, it's because I have a cold. No, I'm going to stay over at Todd's house. So I'll see you in the morning, and, I think that was probably the worst part.
Yeah.
That was probably the worst part over the past year was up until she went into the facility. That was probably the thing that fucked my head up bad. Yeah. Super bad. Yeah, that was bad.
I don't know what I'm going to do because I know that day's coming where she's not going to recognize us. Recognize me.
Is she still at home?
Yeah, she's with my dad. He doesn't have the money to put her in a care facility, nor does she want to go.
Right.
And my dad, they were retired. This is why this disease is fucking awful. My parents just retired, and my dad, just this past weekend, first time my dad picked up a golf club in 2 years. This is a man that played golf every weekend he could. Anytime he could go out and play golf with his son or his father-in-law, he was out there doing that. So he hadn't picked up a golf club in 2 years up until this past weekend. But it's more that my mother's being robbed of her grandchildren.
Right.
She's got 2 nieces and 2 nephews, and she can't keep up. She just sits and watches. But she's robbed of that time with them.
Right.
And that's the kind of stuff that I think about. She's getting robbed of her marriage, of her retirement. These are supposed to be the golden years, the years where her and dad go and travel and, spend time with grandkids, and
you finally get that reward.
Yeah. And they both got just fucked really badly. And it's hard. It's hard to watch it. It really is.
It was a tough one too. Me and my family have been we were estranged for a really long time. I was kind of like the black sheep of the family, which is funny because I'm the most successful of the family.
I'm kind of the black sheep as well.
Yeah,
I know. I feel your pain.
and and like now at the end of all of this, I'm the only one who's really there. Everybody else has just decided to kind of fuck off.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So my dad had to he went in and he kept taking my mom to all these doctor's appointments, all these doctor appointments. And there was
Hmm.
this one moment that was a quintessential change for him because he was talking to this neurologist. The neurologist got a chance to get him aside away from my mom to talk to him, and he said, "Look, I want you to go in. I want you to go and get a full physical right now. Because where you are, I have been. And if you are in as bad a physical shape as I think you are, just looking at you, like I'm just looking at you, and you look like you're going to die. You look like you're falling apart.
Yeah.
If you don't find a way to really do some self-care, you will die before she will just because of the stress. You cannot do this to yourself."
That's what I mean, Shirley, dude. That's what keeps me up at night about my dad.
Mm,
Because he and we've been for the last year or so trying to get them help, trying to get him help specifically. And I think a combination of a very similar conversation that he had with my mother's neurologist and the this past weekend where he actually got to spend a significant amount of time away from her
mhm.
kind of opened his eyes to the fact that he's like, you know what, I really do need help. And he and my oldest brother sat down and talked. And you got to understand, like my dad does not have or did not have a good relationship with his parents.
Right.
And by proxy, ended up not having a very good relationship with his siblings. He's got two brothers and a sister, and I hadn't seen most of them in quite a long time until my wedding.
Mhm.
Um, so, and my dad's the oldest. Uh, so he has my father, because of the stuff that went down with his parents, because they didn't do him any favors. He has a martyrdom complex a
Yep.
mile long, and
Mine too.
yep,
Mine too.
yep, and he has said things and behaved in ways that have really pissed people off in the past, and especially the past couple of years. Um, Namely my two brothers, who both I'm the youngest. Both my brothers are older. Um, so this past weekend was good. There was a really good dialogue with my oldest brother Jake and him talking about getting help, and so we're going to
Right.
sit down soon and try to get stuff ironed out. I have my best friend's a lawyer. I'm going to have him go over uh, some of the legal documents that he needs to get done or has already done. Make sure everything's good.
Right.
So that's at least encouraging. Um, we also we asked him about his health, but he was very non-committal about anything.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
Men of that era.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Pig-headed. So am I.
Yeah. Well, me too.
Um,
Uh,
so and it's strange too because and that's another part that's so terrible about the disease is like there's no universal answers to it either.
mm-mm.
What works for one doesn't necessarily work for the others. For my mom, um, her being at home was the worst thing in the world. Was the
Yeah.
absolute worst thing. She was lashing out. She was violent and
Ooh.
cruel at times and being vicious, like totally opposite. My mom was the biggest sweetie pie on the planet, just the most caring, loving person you'd ever meet.
You want to hear something kind of awful?
Yeah,
I don't really remember what my mom was like before the disease.
I have to force myself to think about it.
And that's probably one of the things that I miss the most. Sorry.
No, no, dude,
Uh,
I'm right there with you, dude. I'm right there with you.
Mm. So that video you did about Alzheimer's a while back, dude, I ugly cried like the whole way home from work because
Oh,
I
I
listened.
love. I yeah, I had a lot of problems recording that video,
Mhm.
and
I bet.
it fucked me up quite a bit. You know, the thing is, well, I have a funny story. Do I want to tell the funny story? Or do I want to tell the like super sad thing first? I'll tell the super sad thing first.
Yeah. Well,
Um, you know, life has an interesting way of mixing into the palette of our lives, or the myriad painting of what we're experiencing, equal parts bitter and sweet.
mhm.
And so, while incredible things are really starting to pop off for me, finally, not just my mom being diagnosed, but a bunch of other things all compound on top of it. And now, um, like just a VidCon, you know, just this last week, I was hanging out with people and having a good time late at night, um, you know, just raging life at the party, and then, you know, like this, immediately, my mom's in my head,
Yeah.
and my casual little sip turns into a chug, and I retreat to something that's safe and that's familiar
Yeah.
and anesthetizing, and like my alcoholism blew up with my mom's disease, like out of control. It's ridiculous
Does
how much
your
it fucks me up.
Let me ask you this: did your mother drink, or does she drink, or had she been?
Not really. I think when she was younger, my mom was quite the party girl, but all the time that I knew her, growing up, she really wasn't a big drinker.
Yeah. My mother. She drinks a
Yeah.
lot, way more than she should. In fact, a couple of times 2 years ago, my dad took her to the hospital because she was dehydrated. She wasn't drinking enough water.
Oh
Thankfully,
no.
that's been corrected, but like, it's not that my mother is an alcoholic, it's that she is an Alzheimer's sufferer and does not realize that that's what she's doing.
And it exacerbates it quite a bit, I
Mhm.
imagine.
Oh
Oh yeah.
yeah, the neurologist was telling my dad, he's like, this is accelerating the process.
All right.
He's like, if you can, he was, my dad was like, well, what do I do? He's like, well, I mean, you can't just like take it away from her because that'll upset her routine. He's like, you got to find a way to either like cut it or substitute it or find ways to get around it. Because
What does she
my
like to
mom,
drink?
she drinks white wine,
White
box
wine?
wine. Yeah, exclusively.
Okay. They make virgin white wine.
They do. And I was telling my dad about that. I was like, why don't you just like, you could cut it with, you know, just Welch's white grape juice.
Yeah.
Is essentially the same thing. And I was telling him, I was like, look, it's bad, but she's never gonna know the difference.
Right. Right. Especially in the state that she's in right now.
Yeah.
You kind of have to do that with Alzheimer's. You kind of have
Yeah.
to find those sneaky little things to like
Well, sometimes
make
you
it
just
work
have to make the executive decision to for them.
to do
Because
what?
sometimes you just have to make the executive decision for them.
You do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, oh yes, you do.
Well, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I was talking to my friend, who is a who's a lawyer, and I was telling him about my mother's condition. He's like, yeah, I wouldn't. He was like, I wouldn't feel confident having her sign a document at this point.
Right. Right. Yeah, that was one of the. It was a hard thing when
Taking you
we
back
had.
outside.
Yeah, no, for sure, man. It was a hard thing when we had to make the decision to put my mom into a memory care facility. Because I mean, shit, you know, I worked in mental health and caregiving, and I heard all the stories of like Fairview and the other state hospitals and all the terrible shit that happened. So when my dad's looking into it, I'm like, I don't want my fucking mom in a home. You can't put my mom in a home. That's my fucking mom. How fucking dare you? Why would you even think about doing that?
Yeah.
I don't care how hard it is. But as time went on and I started having to get those fucking calls, I started having to hear the fear in her voice. I'm like, well, I don't really know what to do. And
Yeah.
so he had to make the choice, and he put her into this memory care facility. And I didn't talk to him for a couple of weeks, and specifically because I was mad. But
Sure.
eventually, I called him and I was like, "Look, how is she doing? I have to know how she's doing." He's like, "You have got to come and see this. You have to. You will not believe how good this is. You have to show up." So within 3 days, I hop into my car. I drive down there. It's about like 150 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And so I drive down there to where they live and where her facility is. And this is fucking great. This totally changed everything that I've been dealing with for a while. So I meet up with my dad. We go over to this facility. We go inside. And almost immediately, my mom sees me. And keep in mind, my mom had been convinced for the longest time I was like 12 years old.
Yeah.
But she sees me and I got the beard. And she's like, "Jeff, my son, there he is. Hi. I'm so glad you came to see me on set."
On set.
On set? What do you mean on set? And she's like, "Well, oh my gosh, our project's so great. Let me introduce you to the director," and shows me over to this old man. This little old man's like, "Oh yes, oh man, oh man." And this is our wardrobe expert. And every time I visited her since, every time I go to that facility, it's something totally different. Sometimes it's a movie, sometimes it's a hospital and she's a nurse. Sometimes it's an executive office building and she's working in marketing. So all of these wild fantasies like get to play out in her head, and she's at peace in this very strange, horrible way, but she's at peace
That's good. That's probably the best you could hope for in that kind of situation,
for
honestly.
now.
I mean, it makes her happy, keeps her engaged. Um, even
It
if
won't
it's
last. It won't
no,
last.
no.
Nah, that's
I mean, that's like I said, that's why I feel bad for my mom because like she's stuck in the house all day. She can't
yeah,
go. She can't go out. She can't go anywhere. She doesn't. We don't. We stopped taking her to restaurants because it was too much. There's too many people, too much noise. Um, and it's
it's brutal.
it
It's
is, and you just don't understand what it's like unless you have lived it. Like you just have no idea because I, I've said this before, but like it is like watching someone die, but their body keeps living. Like
yeah,
the person that my mother was 10 years ago doesn't, that person is gone,
yeah.
totally gone. And
What's left is like this mixture of impulses and shattered fragments of memories and
mm-hmm.
fear. Lots of fear. A lot of fear.
Yep.
So if there's one thing that's terrifying to a human being, it's confusion.
Well, my mom, thankfully, she's comfortable at home.
Yeah.
So there's not so much fear. She just gets confused a lot
Yeah.
all the time. And she constantly apologizes for stuff. Um, where to give a few examples, like she knocked over a lamp last time we were there. I was like, I'm so sorry. Blah, blah, blah. We're like, it's no big deal. Don't worry about it. Comes back from the bathroom. Her pants are not buttoned or something like that because she can't do it anymore.
Right.
So it's stuff like that you see, and just those are the things that that bother you the most.
Oh yeah. I think probably the thing that's pissed me off the most about the whole situation with Alzheimer's. And maybe it's similar with your guys' situation, but probably the thing that's made me the most mad is everybody else has run away from my mom.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a
We
couple of family friends who will still visit and
Yep.
talk, but everybody else is afraid of it.
Yeah, that's what happened to my mom. We have family friends that keep in touch, and they probably see them maybe once a month or so, because these folks in particular, Stu and Chris's mother is living with them, and she has some form of cancer. I don't know, but it requires constant care. She's basically in-home hospice with them. So they don't get to get out and do as much. So they try to come over as much as they can. But everybody else, childhood friend of my mother's who used to call every day, doesn't call anymore, doesn't check up. She had a friend from work that she was really close with, never called her, never doesn't nothing.
Yep.
So the only people that she really gets to see, and thank God, like both of my brothers live in town. So the only people that she really gets to see outside of my dad is us, which is good because that's who she wants to see. But you know, there are no friends from her past that are coming around anymore.
Right. I mean, I'm glad that my mom's brother, my uncle, finally started to visit her a little bit, but it was mostly me and my dad. My brother, my brother, her other son. Nope. No.
Jesus.
Nothing. Fucking nothing. Terrified. Terrified. All of her best friends over the years. Nobody. Nothing. It was a small. It was just a man and a woman, a retired couple. He's a black retired New York City fucking cop, and she was this like random homemaker and shit. They happened to randomly move into this tiny ass fucking town 3 doors down from my dad, and they were the only people who had the compassion to really take care of my dad when all of this happened, and still do. And I got to meet these people recently. They're just the sweetest fucking people on the planet. That's it. Everybody else, they're gone. It's too scary.
Yeah. People don't want to deal with it. And I mean, how do you deal with it? You know, you've got this friend, but they're not the same. They're not there anymore.
Right.
So I mean, people fear stuff that they don't understand, and Alzheimer's is one of those diseases that people really don't understand.
So, ready for another very clever segue?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you sure you're ready?
I'm excited.
Are you? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's bittersweet though. It's bittersweet.
All right.
Because the other thing that you and I share is a love for futurism.
Yes.
And so one of the things that drives me crazy is it's sort of crazy is like I keep my finger on the pulse of all things like new and cutting edge technology, especially biomedical technology. And I'm watching the development of like all of these crazy innovations that are coming out for medicine, for Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
But I also know that they're too late. They're too late for my mom.
Yeah.
But, and I'm wondering if you're feeling the same, because I'm sure you've seen quite a few of these. Do you breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief when you hear about them?
A little bit, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because like it's too late for my mom, but I'm pretty confident that we'll see a cure or an effective treatment in our lifetime.
And I'm really hoping so, because we're both at risk.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That keeps me up at night, man. Like that shit'll keep you up at night.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, no, for real. There's this crazy, I'm trying to remember what the actual mechanism is, but there's this wild implant that they've had some success with and it's the most invasive thing I've ever fucking heard of in my life. They take a hollow needle, it's a big fucking hollow needle, and I think they go through the soft palate on the roof of your mouth, and they go through your fucking sinus into your skull, down into your midbrain, and they pop this little injection in there. And it's a fucking device that has a slow release over 6 years of a certain chemical that counteracts the protein that causes the plaques.
Interesting.
So
That's one
yeah,
way to get around the blood-brain barrier.
yeah, well, yeah, it goes through the mouth up into your
Yeah,
fucking midbrain.
because I mean that's a lot of the holdup has been the blood-brain barrier.
Mm-hmm.
Because for people that don't know, like the blood gets filtered as it goes into your brain.
Yep.
Um, so it becomes very difficult to medicate for a
You have to
brain
craft
disease.
you have to craft very specifically how you make a pharmaceutical that will pass the blood-brain barrier. Like the like an SSRI,
Yeah,
selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. A lot of drugs use them. Prozac uses them. The illegal drug ecstasy uses them. Those could pass the blood-brain barrier because of how they're built molecularly,
yeah,
like a compound pharmaceutical that could be used to counteract a very specific protein. It's too big. It's too big. It gets filtered right out. You can't get in there.
yeah.
So, yeah, and that's the whole idea is that they just fucking jab this thing deep into your skull, which is the most gnarly fucking method, and leave this like slow release capsule. It's the weirdest thing.
It's kind of cool though. Um, I was really encouraged by I don't know if you read about this. They had that breakthrough with reproducing Alzheimer's in brain tissue.
No, what is this about?
Yeah. So they were able to. I don't remember the exact. I'd have to find the article because it's been a year since I read it. But it essentially is going to help speed up research and testing of drugs, specifically because they can reproduce, and they're using the gene. They're triggering the gene that controls Alzheimer's,
Mm.
or because there's two different kinds. For folks that don't know, there's a genetic component to Alzheimer's, but there's also just you get it randomly.
Yep.
It's not necessarily a genetic predisposition. It's one of the reasons why this disease has been really hard to research drugs for.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because if it was just genetically related, just gene therapy would take care of it.
So they figured out a way to basically kind of simulate or even lab grow cells in basically affected by Alzheimer's so they could test it without having to test it on a real person.
Correct. Yeah.
That's fucking incredible. That's
It,
awesome.
it, it speeds up the process because I mean, like a new drug, I was reading somewhere that it's like a 7-year process for a
Oh yeah.
drug to be conceived, tested, and then approved for use, and that's a
Oh,
long goddamn time.
I mean, that's even expedited from what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
When we had less perfect testing methods, it could take even longer than that.
Yep.
'Cause, I mean, we have, science. Science is not a perfect science.
Yeah. No.
I hope
Yeah.
nobody better ever clip that because I'm gonna get pissed. But science is not a perfect science, and like we just recently over the past few years where there was like a meta analysis where it basically threw every conclusion we ever had with lab rats totally in question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like actually, come to find out, laboratory mice are not as similar to humans as we thought. No shit,
Yeah.
really?
Well,
Okay.
hey, hey, they're both mammals. It's close enough, right?
Both got fur. Oh,
Well, some more than others.
yeah, some more than others for sure. Um, who the fuck is yelling in my house right now? I just heard Memory like giggling with some other lady. Is Memory having like an all lady orgy in the house next to me? Whatever, I'll figure it out later. It's fine. Okay, so better question. Better question. All right. So futurism, and this is my jam, and I know it's your jam too. Um, what's the number one innovation that you've heard of recently that really inspires you or gives you a lot of hope?
I think about that for a minute. Well, that's tough because there's a lot of stuff to choose from.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking with somebody about this the other day. You know, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, you know, they do a lot of work with innovating on existing technology.
Mhm.
For instance, trying to find it sounds silly, but dumping a lot of money into research to find a condom that feels more natural, for
Oh,
example.
sure.
Um, you know, obvious application is you reduce uh, sexually transmitted diseases because people will be more inclined to use a condom.
Right. If we can get rid of the downsides, then people will actually use them more often.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. But as far as like real game changers, probably, I mean, like SpaceX is a big one. You
Hmm.
know, furthering man's ability to explore, I think, is really cool, and to be able to do it cheaply at that. Um,
Oh yeah. Well, compare not cheaply in the
well,
scope.
cheaply by comparison. I mean, you compare costs of like what it would cost to launch a satellite in say like 1975 versus you know the way SpaceX does it.
Right. Yeah.
It's significant. Um,
Yeah. I mean, like
I,
the what, and that's okay. I hate I hate giving it to the libertarians, but SpaceX kind of proves their theory that with enough motivated private individuals, that maybe it can achieve better than a government individual.
I think there is some merit to that argument, but you know we there's plenty of examples to the contrary, though.
There are, and that's one of the reasons why I hate to give them even that one, because they'll be like, "See," and I'm like, "Come on,
But
it's Elon Musk, that's different."
we don't have that guy today that invents, and I cannot remember his name, that invented penicillin or discovered penicillin more specifically. Um, and rather than patenting it, he
There's a
gave it a
couple.
was it a
Uh,
couple?
yeah, I mean, okay. The development of penicillin, the development of antibiotics, actually is quite a few people. But it was Salk, I think, was the one who gave it away for free. Jonas
Yeah,
Salk, I think
that sounds right.
that sounds right. I should know this, but I'm an idiot. So, you
But
know,
like those kind of people today, they just don't exist because
Fleming Fleming discovered it. Fleming discovered it.
okay.
No. No, Salk was the first vaccine. That's what it was. Jonas Salk was the first vaccine. Alexander Fleming was the guy who discovered penicillin. That's what it was. Jesus Christ, I'm an idiot. Jesus. Nobody should ever watch my channel ever because I'm a hack.
Oh come on, you weren't prepared, man. That's all right.
I, I should be prepared. I don't want everybody to know how non-prepared I am. It's Rhino had a really good suggestion for an incredible innovation. CRISPR. CRISPR is incredible.
CRISPR.
Yeah, CRISPR. Uh, what's the best way to try and explain? CRISPR is basically the building block fundamental for us to be able to do um, gene editing on live individuals. Like we can actually do retrovirus methods of changing the DNA of a living person, rather than trying to tool the DNA of somebody who is yet to be born.
Right.
So you know you could take gene drugs uh, because of CRISPR, and
That's
this
some
is all based on,
cyberpunk shit.
yeah, dude, some straight up fucking cyberpunk shit. Absolutely. CRISPR is incredible. And there's so many, we have so many genetic chromosomal fucking diseases out there that we honestly really, we have no excuse that we're not putting more money into finding solutions for these, because that's a bet. Okay. Remember when I had that debate with Steven Crowder?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. About AIDS and the hysteria and the epidemic, things like that. Well, one of his big things is that we put too much money into research, but the money that went into research helped us develop retroantiviral drugs, which means that no longer is AIDS a death sentence. With the ability to have CRISPR, to have, like, the Human Genome Project is already complete. the ability to use CRISPR to target these specific problems, we can make effectively genetic diseases extinct. They're done. They're gone.
Yeah.
We can fix them. And if we put money into this so that we do it, once we've done it, we don't need that money anymore.
Yeah.
Like we literally have, because we're used to having a thing like cancer where we throw money at the problem and we develop a better drug, but it's not fixed. But when it comes to genetic diseases, once we have the fix, we don't need the money anymore. That's the thing that like drives me crazy.
It could
I
be
don't know,
part of
man.
the problem.
It drives me crazy. It pisses me off. How about
what do you think is, well, let me ask you a question. What do you think is going to be the next big innovation that like I was talking about earlier, disruptive technologies? What do you think is going to be that next innovation that upsets the natural order?
Ooh. Okay. I don't know if I've ever actually said it on my channel. Did I ever talk about why I initially wanted to go into neuroscience?
No, I don't believe I've ever heard your reasoning.
Okay. So the main reason why I really wanted to get into neuroscience is for a very, very specific reason. It's something that I want to see happen, and I will be first in line to get as soon as it is available for commercial or beta testing. I'll sign up for the beta test. I don't mind. My original impetus is I saw how we deal with prosthetics, right? You get your arm lopped off, then you have to get this prosthetic, and usually, even through the most advanced technology, we're reading impulses through the stump, even just neuron impulses of how to make this work. My idea, and the idea of many people before me, and something that I wanted to help work on, was to make the mind-machine interface where we figured out how to decipher the actual coded messages. It's not really a message, but to understand the data that comes through neurons and translate it into actual motor function. So rather than like having to focus on making your muscles tense and send those neural signals to make the hand do this, you can just simply think, make a fist, and it does.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I like this, and the reason why I thought this was one of the most important things ever, is once we understand how to translate how we think into something that a machine can then do, that changes everything. Yeah. Everything changes.
That's a pretty short hop to transferring human consciousness into a machine.
Oh yeah, by all means. Yes and no, because we still have the problem. We have to understand how our memories work, and we still don't really understand that.
Yeah,
we still don't really quite understand that, but we're close. We're very close. That's the first step, right, into doing it. But I mean, that's the first step to like augmentation. It's the first step to being able to enhance yourself with technology, to being able to control a computer with your mind, control a robot with your mind, and that's like my cyberpunk dream right there.
I think we all share that. I would love to be able to do stuff like that. Kind of in the same vein, though, I think the development of AI will be the crowning achievement of humanity,
or the final achievement,
or the final achievement. There's some debate on whether or not it would be good or bad. I think we're a lot further away from that than anybody really wants to acknowledge, though.
Right.
Because like you just said, we really don't understand a lot about how our own brain works. So how on earth are we going to create an AI if we don't even understand how our own mind works?
Kurzweil's current prediction is 2029 is when we will make a computer that is able to actually understand and replicate what it's like to have human intelligence, like emotive technology, emotive intelligence as well, like understand emotions on top of like how we process data versus how a computer does. So
I'd be interested to see what that would look like, because I feel like that would take a lot of computing power. That.
Well, I mean, okay. I've used this example before. It might be a little dated now. It's about 3 years old from when it was a conceptualized idea, and I talked to about with other neuroscientists. But did I catch Kurzweil at VidCon? No, I did not. Bald bag. He wasn't at VidCon. I wish Kurzweil was at VidCon. I would have gotten drunk with that dude. He doesn't drink.
You would have gotten drunk next to that dude.
That's right. I'd have been like, can I destroy some of my brain matter next to you so I can osmosis some of it off? Anyway, this is the example that I like to use when I'm talking to people about the difference between our brains and machines is if you stick your hand out and you crook a finger.
Excuse me.
Just that. This simple action. What has happened in that split second, like that, super fast, is more calculations have gone through your brain than a warehouse full of supercomputers. All of these calculations, by the way, are done through a simple series, a webwork of electrical signals that are only activated by a simple sodium-potassium pump in every single neuron. That's how the electrical signal is transferred. Is just pump out the sodium, pump in the potassium, and it shoots it through billions of brain cells at the speed of thought, which is incredibly fast. You just did more calculations than it takes an entire warehouse full of supercomputers, and you used less electricity than it takes to power a 60-watt light bulb.
Yeah.
That's insane. That's fucking insane.
It's called efficiency.
Yes, it's called efficiency. But I mean, you know, like if you ask a computer or even ask a calculator, like what is the square root of 50 bajillion and shit, immediately it's like, it's got it. Ask a person that and they're like,
I gotta think about this for a minute. You got any paper?
Yeah. Just two totally different types of intelligences. So, you know, I don't know if Kurzweil...
You're talking about a deliberate act versus something that's been ingrained in us since time immemorial, like
right,
to be able to move limbs and form speed. I mean, you just think about what human beings do. Your eyes interpret light upside down, and then it puts it in front of you correctly. Interprets colors, and you're doing all of this at the same time. Smell, touch, breathing, your heartbeat, all of this stuff is going on all at the same time, and it requires an enormous amount of processing power to do it.
Huge.
And and like you said, it takes very little electricity to do it.
And what's crazy too is like the cognitive psychologists who have been working with the people who deal with the meat, the neurologists, they've kind of understood, and it's kind of a conceptualized model that most of them kind of agree on. Is so say you and I are standing in a room and we're having a conversation. I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. We can smell the smells in the room. We can hear the people around us or hear each other. We can feel the temperature in the room. All of these feel real to us. They feel very real. But the reality of it is that what we are actually perceiving, that this experience, even our experience right here that we're having now, that everybody out there who's watching us right now, either live or in the future, who watches this, what you see is not really what is there. Not really. Yeah. What we're experiencing is an actual real-time construct of how our brain has interpreted the world around us and built it up and allowed us to experience. Yep. We don't really see anything. We interpret everything.
Yep.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, I know. I know. I tell people this shit all the time. Like when like if you were standing on a street corner and there was a car crash, that shit happened ages ago by comparison of when you actually like register it.
And
Like,
in the span of like conceptualization, yeah.
yeah. Um, Same thing with astronomy. Like, you're looking at a star. I think they just discovered the oldest object they've observed is something like I want to say 13 billion light years away.
Mm-hmm.
Could be more. I might be a little generous there, but um, it's like that star or body is gone, has been for millions of years, but we're only just now being able to observe it.
Literally looking into the past.
Mm-hmm. Well, like if you left Earth and you traveled for a year at the speed of light, and you turn back around and we're looking at Earth, you can actually watch yourself like leave.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Just by the weirdness of how time works. And you know what's a really good example of the strangeness of perception versus time is you've been walking along in the woods and then you see a wiggly stick, but you thought it was a snake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the analogy that they use a lot in psychology when they're talking about how our brains actually work. Um, it's based upon biological structures, which is from our eyes, from our optic nerves, travel straight into the midbrain for different processing structures. And these processing structures are first and foremost dealing with our endocrine system. And from there, it can go to things like the prefrontal cortex, which allows us to really process and conceptualize what we're seeing. So it's a faster reaction to our endocrine system, which is responsible for our hormones and our innate animal responses. So before you can even see that it's a stick, this rudimentary organ inside your brain is like snake, and suddenly you are scared as fuck.
Yep.
Like wah, ah, and then your brain's like, oh, it's a stick. And people have had this experience a lot in their lives,
Yeah.
but it's actually because there is a faster speed to your fear response than it is to even be able to see what you're seeing.
Yep. That's survival instinct.
That's so crazy.
It's fucking cool, man. Like, that stuff is amazing to think about.
That's my jam.
I love shit like that. The survival response is you hear about like ladies like lifting cars and shit because of their kids trapped under the car or whatever, that analogy or whatever to explain adrenaline. And it's just funny to me to think that like, oh, this is just some shit that's left over from when we lived in caves.
Oh yeah.
And we were scared of shadows. Like,
jumping at the horrors of the wall, man.
mm-hmm.
That's so crazy. It's so nuts. Oh my god. But yeah, all I know is I want to live long enough that we find a way to live forever so that I can become some crazy, weird monster cyborg who lives in a cave, and I can extract all the nutrients I need by eating dirt. And I can sit there and watch as the eons pass by and all the wonders of the world rise and fall. That's what I want. I want to be a living witness to history. I can think of no greater purpose in life than to just bear witness to what we have the ability to achieve.
I think that's really that's poignant, man. I would love to do that. Like, I just imagine like what it would have been like to sit there and like watch them build like the Eiffel Tower at a time when there were no buildings that tall. No, nothing. That was people forget. Like, the Eiffel Tower was the tallest building in the world for like 120 years or something like that. I don't remember. I don't know exactly how long, but it was the tallest building in the world for a long time. Taller than the pyramids. Crazy to think about. And like, this just, we picked up some I-beams and we welded them together just because we could. We did it because we could. And that's awesome.
That's incredible. That's a testament to the human spirit, man.
Well, it's like we were talking about earlier, like they getting out of, the agricultural revolution and becoming civilized and exploring art and literature and music. This is why I don't really buy into, this is kind of a little segue of my own into, this is why I don't really buy into extraterrestrials necessarily. Fiction's been around for a long time. And people want to attribute things from the past as evidence that we've been visited by extraterrestrials or something of that nature. And I kind of look at it and go, I think they're just telling a story. The Egyptians were really good at this, you know.
Oh, they're incredibly good at it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, shit. Okay. The thing that always drives me crazy with the ancient alien stuff, when it comes to like the pyramids, the one that I think really kind of shits all over it is Monk's Mound. You ever heard of Monk's Mound? Okay. Monk's Mound. I want to make sure I want to know specifically where it is, because you can actually visit it right now. Monk's Mound is near Collinsville, Illinois. And let's see, this makes Monk's Mound roughly the same size at its base as the Great Pyramid of Giza. What this thing is a giant fucking mound of dirt. That's all it is. It's just a giant fuck-off mound of dirt. But Monk's Mound was intentionally created as an engineering marvel during the Mesoamerican period of time, way before we made any us just white imperialist colonists, blah, 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 made contact with the Native Americans. They've determined that parts of the earth of Monk's Mound come from over 1,000 miles away. So they're importing dirt, colorful dirt from other parts of North America to make this massive fucking monument. Why did they do it?
Well, you know, I wonder about the dirt, if it was other tribes paying tribute.
Maybe.
That could be a possibility. But yeah, why build something like that? Or
because we're humans and we're weird. We like to stack shit.
We do. We do like to stack shit. Stacking paper.
Yeah. Stack of ass.
Well, I mean, you look at like Washington, D.C. That was a city that was built with the intention of being a city of monuments.
Right.
It was engineered specifically for that. And it's, go to Monument Park. It's everywhere. And you've got the Washington Memorial and
even just the interstate that goes around Washington, D.C. Like if you look at it, the topographical map of like how Washington, it's totally made, totally constructed city. Nothing organic about it.
No, nothing. Boston, on the other hand, that's just a big fuck you of logistics.
Yes, Boston is fucking disgusting. It's a mess. It's a fucking a lot of the.
I can't talk there. Charlotte's not a whole lot better.
No,
we have an intersection in the city of Kings Road, Kings Drive, and it's like Kings something or other. It's Kings, Kings, and Kings. Yeah, it's. I'm standing at the corner of Kings. Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know, I'd heard now. I don't know if this is true, but a lot of the roads in Charlotte are confusing, and the urban legend is that it was done intentionally to confuse the Russians should they ever invade.
I call it shenanigans.
I have no idea if that's true or not, but it is funny to tell people.
So one fuck Canuck says, I do legit believe in aliens. I'm going to be the outcast, I'm sure. No, you're not the outcast, man.
I think that life outside of Earth is a statistical certainty. And you only need to look at the prevalence of life on the planet and the variety of life on the planet to understand that, like, as cliche as it sounds, like life finds a way. Finds a way every time. We have life on this planet that makes absolutely no sense. You have life that lives around volcanic what are they called?
Tardigrades.
Is that what they're called?
The little water bears and shit that they
they build the big chutes on the ocean floor. You've got
Oh, no, no,
microbes and
I'm trying to remember what those ones are in specific, but right by them, tardigrades can live in anything. But
yeah.
yeah, no,
There's a whole class of organism called extremophiles
yep.
on this planet, and they live in conditions that would kill anything else except for those organisms. And the thing about humanity's search for life outside of our planet is we have absolutely no fucking clue what we're looking for.
Oh
We have
yeah.
no idea what life outside of Earth will even look like. No clue. But considering how pervasive life is on this planet, I think, and if it happened here, I'm pretty sure it's happened somewhere else.
Absolutely.
The universe is far too long, far too big. Our own galaxy is far too big for us to be the only sentient life. It just doesn't make it just doesn't make sense. But
yeah, even just by statistics, like it's an absolute certainty that there has to be other life out there.
Has to be. Mm-hmm. Do I believe they've been here? I don't think so. I think the UFOs and the stuff that people have reported for years and years are far more likely to be military aircraft than anything else.
I mean, like if it ended up being that we found out tomorrow, that there are aliens and they've been to the planet, I don't know if I would really have that much of an emotional response to it, to be honest. And that's the thing that I don't know.
I wouldn't be surprised, but
yeah,
I'm not living my life as though that's the truth or factual.
Right. I have like, I don't know, maybe I feel kind of lonely in this, is in that I have this like really weird blasé attitude towards all of it, of like, if they came out tomorrow and they're like
fucking aliens. Okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah, that's exactly like,
anyway, look at this lady drinking cabbage juice.
Right. Like, okay, I guess there's aliens. Are they going to chill?
They'll find your channel and they'll watch some of those videos and be like, "Nah, humans are too stupid. We have to go."
Single-handedly fucking up our interstellar relations. Oh my god! Just wait until the next one comes out. This next project, Jesus Christ! Oh my god, the wildest.
Is this the one you were talking about before we started? Yeah. Okay.
So we'll see. We'll see how that whole thing goes. But yeah, I don't know. The future is bright. I still feel the future's okay. Last question.
All right.
We can spend as much time on this as you want, but this is something that I think is really important. So when we talk about futurism, when we talk about innovations and technology and where we're going as a species, a lot of people get into a pessimistic, if not straight up dystopian mindset. Do you feel that way?
That's a good question. I don't know, because the next big innovation is going to come from either a large multinational corporation that has been throwing money at a particular problem or thing that they've been trying to do, or it's going to come from a university lab that's probably being backed by one of those multinational corporations. I don't really see. It's difficult because, I mean, the potential is there for it to be very dystopian. The potential is there now for it to be very dystopian.
Yeah.
But we haven't gotten there yet, and I'm not sure that we're going to get there. I think I almost feel like it's gotten to the point where we're too big to fail at this point. It's just going to be different shades of gray or brown, depending on your outlook.
Isn't it kind of a comforting thought that we might be too big to fail? Because I thought that myself too.
Yeah, yeah. The problem is when you get to this point where you're too big to fail, how do you enact, change that's needed?
Oh, because of the natural complacency of people. Yeah,
right. Because you look around and you just see people who either buy into whatever they're told in the news, or people who don't care or apathetic.
Right.
about where we're headed as a species, or just like their own lives in general. You know, um, it's difficult to say.
It's almost like we need to find a way to really monetize the future, like to
Oh, don't
monetize.
worry, somebody will figure that out.
No, I know, I know, I know. I mean, I mean, we have it in certain ways, but like if you remember when we did the big space race, the whole idea is that during the Cold War, the Russians were going to beat us into space. So we spent an immense amount of resources, an immense amount of national attention. Everybody was totally focused, 100%. We got to land a man on the moon. We have to fucking do it. And we did it. We fucking did it. We did it with less calculating power than a modern fucking calculator. You
Mm-hmm.
know, these crazy assholes in these fucking paper thin little
Yeah,
capsules shooting themselves.
we're gonna essentially put you in this basket made of aluminum. And we're gonna strap it to this giant fuck off candle. This huge stick of dynamite. This fuck off stick of dynamite. And we're gonna fire your ass into space. And we've done the calculations, and we think if we do it at this time at this speed, we'll
Should be
get you
fine.
there.
Yeah,
Probably.
it should be fine. Yeah.
I will say this. I think to date, man's greatest achievement is the Voyager spacecraft.
Mm. It's the most lasting, that's for sure.
That definitely. We're still receiving signals from it.
Yep.
Almost 40 years later.
It's an old, decrepit piece of shit machine, but my God,
You heard of me. So, Curiosity.
made in America.
Goddamn right. Carl Sagan is the voice of humanity.
That's right.
There's a lot of comfort in that.
There is.
So the Curiosity rover. When you heard about the sandstorm that knocked it out, and it'll be months before we'll know its status.
Right.
Were you sad about that? I was a little sad about that.
I was sad about it because like I was starting to kind of identify the Curiosity rover like Wally.
Yeah.
You know, because Wally in the story of Wally, like, and I'm not like some Pixar. I hate using the word, but Pixar fag.
Whatever.
I'm not like a big Pixar fag or anything, but like, you know, he's this little robot and he's all alone on this planet and there's nobody else around and he's just trying to do his duty. So when I would think about the Curiosity rover, I'm like, it's like Wally.
Yeah.
And so I started getting emotionally invested in like the well-being of this little
sending like pictures back and like its wheels are falling apart because it's been going for 10 years when it was only supposed to go for like 3 months. 3 months, not 3 years, 3 months.
Yeah, no, yeah, not even
a 90-day mission that turned into almost 11 years.
He's so brave.
I so hope that they get a signal after this storm is done.
We gotta go get it. You know that, right? We gotta go get it.
We're gonna bring it back and put it in the Smithsonian.
Maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we need to get the American people motivated on the well-being of Wally. I mean, the Curiosity rover.
Go rescue Curiosity.
Right, and that's why we have to send a manned mission to Mars so we can get our Wally back, our Curiosity rover back.
I'm very interested in a manned mission to Mars. I think the undertaking would be ridiculous. Because if you're on that mission, that's 3 years. Minimum 3 years.
And probably a one-way trip. Probably the first few of them.
I don't think it'll be a one-way trip, but it will be pants-shittingly scary. That's for sure.
I mean, space is pants-shittingly scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And I cannot fucking imagine what it must have been like for like the Apollo 11 astronauts.
Oh
not getting off onto the moon. I'm talking about going up that fucking elevator to like just watching this fucking Saturn V rocket pass by, and it's like 30 stories tall.
Oh yeah,
and they're gonna put you on the top of this fucking thing, and you're gonna steer it to the moon.
Oh yeah, and
And you
most
step out and it's like it's open. You can see like it's not, there's a tunnel, but like you can see out and you're on top of a 30-story fucking building and they're gonna strap you in this fucking capsule.
oh
I
yeah,
I get flight anxiety getting on a fucking airplane. There's no way. I would have taken
you
one
know,
step off that elevator and be like, nah. Get
what's the crazy, what's the craziest part about the whole thing too is like that entire 30-story building that you're on top of is all fuel.
Yeah,
It's
it's
all
all
highly explosive fuel.
it's oxygen and rocket fuel, and they're gonna
You're on a giant fucking bomb, and we're gonna light this thing, and we're gonna throw you straight up in this tiny piece of shit little can,
how do you
and
think
hope it works.
how do
What the
you
fuck?
how do you think the first crew of the I forget which Mercury mission it was that caught fire. Was it Mercury? Was it Mercury 1? It couldn't have been Mercury 1. It had to be like one of the later Mercury missions.
Yeah.
Because they would have lost all of their funding if it had done it on the first try.
Right.
But could you imagine? So like they went. The reason it happened is there was a fire in the capsule, and they died because no one was there to let them out because there was no door, there was no latch on the inside.
Oh fuck.
Yeah, that's awful.
That's so fucked up.
Yep, they died because there was no way to get out because there was no handle, there was no door handle on the inside. Because why would you ever need to fucking open that thing? You're in space.
Think about it.
Yeah.
No, we had the child safety lock on.
But could you imagine being like on that first Mercury crew after that had happened?
Oh my god. Did you guys put the door handles on just in
Yeah.
case?
Yeah. Don't say light this candle. Please don't say that over the radio. I don't want to.
All right. Well, do you have anything you want to shill or promote or anything like that before we hop offline and then we're just gonna hang out? Like,
I am a simple man with not a lot of shit to talk about, other like to shill, and I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have any of that shit.
All right. Well, you definitely have a lot to talk about though, and I've had a damn good time doing it.
It has been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Nick. We're gonna keep hanging out a little bit longer, but for everybody who's watching out there live or in the future, this stream is done. It's over. Keep looking to the stars. And the last word is yours, buddy.
Man, you put me on the spot like that.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
Just be nice to the people that you know in your life. Just be nice. That's all.